Now, I know that us pirates and smugglers get a bad rap, but here I am at Jumptown, and this poor unfortunate soul is trying to get his cargo into a ship and get out of here. I could easily deep six this guy's ship right here, but I don't, because you don't always have to kill people in Star Citizen, and to be perfectly honest, despite the fact that he's got a missing wing, clearly this is a man of culture, and as such, if he doesn't give me a reason to kill him, no need. We're both in the business of making money, not making enemies. Where possible. I mean, nobody's perfect. Does the Mercury Star Runner live up to the hype? Well, I can say this. The Mercury Star Runner has created one hell of a problem for me. And we're going to be talking about that in this video. And you guys know that when it comes to criticism, I don't hold back. And the Mercury Star Runner, I have a big criticism to do with this ship. So hold on to your butts. My big criticism is this ship is so good at what it's supposed to do. It is so fun to fly, and it is so great that it is creating a problem for me where I am trying to stay as far ahead on gearing as I can in the new WoW expansion. I was also, until just today, trying to finish up my battle pass in World of Tanks, and the whole time I'm doing both of these things, it's like, just get in the Mercury Star Runner and do another little smuggling loop with it, make a little bit of extra scratch in Star Citizen. The money might not count, but you could. And that has been my biggest problem with the Star Runner. It makes me want to play Star Citizen more. It does live up to the hype. And of course there are issues. There are a multitude of issues with this ship. There's a multitude of issues with many other ships. I would actually argue that the secondary exit is probably the biggest issue that I have with this ship. And I think that it could easily be solved by just adding a hatch to the bottom of the ship that allows you to access the crawl spaces and a little ladder that just flaps down out of the bottom of the ship, and you just climb up into the crawl space. And that would be enough of a solution for me. Is there a lot of dead space in the ship? Yes, there is. On the top of the ship, around the top turret, there's a lot of dead space in there that you could probably put another cargo area in. Or someone doesn't like the color scheme, or, the elevator in the back, I would say, is one of my bigger issues. I would just rather have like a staircase there, please. I don't understand CIG's fascination with putting in automatic elevators everywhere, and it just breaks up your motion through the ship. You'll see it in a little bit after we drop this package off. It just feels like it's constantly jarring when you're moving through the ship, all the doors and then this elevator just kind of kills the motion. But overall, yeah, there are some minor architectural issues, but overall, this ship, at its core, what is it supposed to be? It's supposed to be the fast getaway smuggling ship, and it does it in perfectly. It does it so well. And that has been an absolute joy. There are so many ships in Star Citizen where it's not just a question of the cumbersome interior or all these minor annoyances, but their core duties, the core things that they're supposed to do, they just really don't do all that well. That's why like oddballs like the Caterpillar and the Cutlass, I think, are so successful within the community, is because there was so minimal attention spent on, trying to make all these cool little oddball granular features that make it, kind of unique or make it kind of interesting in the eyes of some, that there was so little attention paid to all these little other things that in the end you basically got a fully functional ship that really kind of did what it was supposed to do. And the Mercury Star Runner, I think, kind of follows in that tradition. The core idea of it's this fast smuggling ship, and it is unbelievably fast. You're outrunning some fighters, which is just amazing. You know, yeah, some people get fixated on the escape pod thing, but I mean, if you're good enough and you're fast enough, you probably won't need them. And I mean, in Star Citizen right now, let's be honest, if you needed an escape pod, the chances of you living long enough to get to the escape pod are like slim and none. So I don't understand the fascination with escape pods as a point of contention over the ship. In fact, if CIG just said, you know what, Minion Soldier, you get to choose for the entire community a staircase in the back of the ship and get rid of the elevator, or escape pods, I would choose the staircase over that, because the staircase you would deal with every day. The escape pods would be an absolute rarity, and at that point, you're probably not going to live long enough to use them. So, I'll just deal with just a ladder in the back and a secondary exit, or not a ladder, but a staircase. But a secondary exit would come first, then would come the staircase, then we would get to the point of like escape pods, which I would just be like, you can or you can't. It really doesn't matter to me. At its core, though, it is exactly what it's supposed to be. It is absolutely superlative for smuggling. Yeah, you know what? It does use up a lot of gas, but I think that that's something that's going to get adjusted in the future. Right now, it's kind of annoying, but it's not brutal to the point of being crippling. So it's actually perfectly fine. It's not ideal, but it's livable. I'm not sitting there and gonna go on Spectrum and write a novel to CIG about how the fuel usage is wrong and how I feel it should be adjusted and all that. It sucks, yeah, but everyone kind of knows it, and it's probably going to get adjusted in the future, so it's not that big a deal. When I look at this ship and I see a ship that is so ideally fulfilling its primary role in the Star Citizen universe, this makes me more hype for Star Citizen. There's a lot of people who are like, oh my god, when's it all going to end? When's it all going to fall apart? I mean, if you look at this year's anniversary sale and how much money they made, despite all the issues and despite all the problems and despite the titanic delays, I mean, it's basically like the gaming community itself is just willing this game into existence, despite the efforts of the deniers and the people who are actually building the game. Sometimes it's the community itself around Star Citizen that's just kind of forcing this game to succeed and exist because they want it to. I've never felt like, I've never been more outwardly pleased with my feelings in regards to the stability or the future of the game. The ships seem to finally be headed in the right direction. CIG has kind of learned a lot of the critical lessons that they have to learn. Sometimes we've had to drag them into it kicking and screaming, but it seems like they finally picked up on that. There are still some minor architectural issues, and I mean, a lot of it is Minecraft base builder syndrome. A lot of the artists, they kind of focus a little too much on the exterior of the ships, and then when it comes to the interior, they're like, oh, how are we going to make all this fit? Oops. Whereas, I feel that they've always had to learn a little stuff about architecture, and why I call it the Minecraft base problem is anybody's ever played Minecraft, you build a base in your head, you go, this is how everything's going to work, and then you have to build it in reality, and you go like, ooh, how am I going to make all this fit? I have to change my design. And with CIG, it's like, no, the exterior must be unchanged. And then, they get into all these issues of how do we make it all fit, and maybe we got to take some stuff away because we kind of built it a certain way based on looks rather than practicality. That's a lesson that CIG has partially learned, but I would say not entirely. But overall, when I look at a ship like this and I see how the ship is doing and how the ship is fulfilling its primary role, yes, there are issues. But overall, one of the things that I've kind of walked away from this is that this has made me even more excited to see what they do with the Corsair. Having a ship out there, like the Hammerhead. The Hammerhead is kind of a disaster of a capital ship. Let's be real. But it really is the Starfarer of capital ships. And I think that as the new capital ships come online, I bet you one of the reasons why CIG eats up a lot of time reworking the interiors of the Idris and the Javelin is because of all the lessons they learned in the Hammerhead, and putting the Hammerhead live and going like, ooh, yeah, no, that really does suck. We do really have to change that. So I think that when we look at the ships that are yet to come, things like the Apollo, things like the Corsair, you start to realize that CIG has picked up enough and learned enough that from these ships that, or the ships that they've already produced, especially the Connie, that we are going to get far superior ships to what we would have gotten had CIG not learned these lessons, or had these ships with all their problems not come before, and we hadn't kicked up such a fuss about, all these kind of broken things. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point CIG just kind of does like a page 1 rewrite of the Connie, or at least in the future comes up with Connie V 2.0 and allows you to kind of go to a dealer and upgrade your existing Connie to the new Connie for like a pittance if you already have the ship and have LTI or whatnot, to basically create a new Connie that basically lives up to what the original Connie should have been, which kind of does, kind of doesn't, right? One of the I think the biggest showcases of this has been the cockpit of the Mercury Star Runner, right? Like, you remember what cockpits were like in so many of the older ships. They were disasters. I mean, even now, like when I get into that Retaliator to make videos and stuff like that, I look at that cockpit and I'm like, what were they thinking? But you look at this and you're just like, this is it. And think about that. This lesson is going to be applied to the Corsair. This lesson is going to be applied to many of the future ships that have yet to arrive in Star Citizen. Are they all going to be like equally as open and whatnot? Probably not. But I would argue that, especially even if you looked at, the 600i, for all its issues, the cockpit was actually pretty decent, and the view space that you had was very functional and very much in tune with a space game where you have 6 degrees of freedom. It was very well done. And so it seems to me that CIG has kind of picked up that lesson, and that has been one of the most difficult lessons for them to learn. If you've ever seen screenshots of the interiors of the cockpit in the Wing Commander games, you know what I'm talking about. That has been a hard lesson to kind of teach CIG, and we've had to kind of beat them over the heads with it for years, but it seems like it has finally taken hold. Where the 600i is no longer an oddity, now that you have the Mercury Star Runner, you're seeing like, okay, now I'm starting to see a trend here that, okay, yes, they have learned their lesson. Now, like originally, when I originally kind of started talking about this ship in the video, I was talking about does this ship live up to the hype? In my feeling, yes, the ship lives up to the hype, and beyond that, I think the ship hypes up the rest of the game because it showcases all these lessons that they've learned. It tells you like, hey, we are figuring this out and we are getting better at it. And the truth of it is it seems that, like I was saying before, it's like the community is kind of willing this game to succeed and willing this game into existence. I think that in as much as there are obviously some technical issues that CIG has got to figure out, and there are some problems with, just beyond servers, beyond, just little annoyances with ships, there are some bigger things that CIG has kind of got to figure out. But I've never been kind of feeling more okay with the future of the game than I have been now. There have been times in the past where I've been like, holy shit, I think that we're really kind of hanging by a thread here, but I don't get that feeling anymore. Certainly after this last anniversary sales, like, yeah, it seems like everyone's pretty pro and pretty hype on this. I feel that we are at a point where we are on a solid footing and there's enough things going right. Yeah, there are problems, there are issues, there are disconnections, and 30K is still going on. But it feels like overall, much like the Mercury Star Runner, it feels like we really are headed in the right direction. That CIG is finally kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, we figured it out. So I feel that, broadly speaking, the Mercury Star Runner is more than just a really great smuggling ship. I think that the Mercury Star Runner, in a way, is kind of a metaphor. It's a herald of things to come. And that has kind of put me in a very positive mood. There have been some kind of times where things have looked kind of dark, but this ship and the way, and not just the experiences that I've had in it, but the way that it's implemented, the way that it functions and interacts with the game, and it's built around the realities of the game rather than some kind of idealization, that has kind of put me into a very positive mood. So the Mercury Star Runner, it does live up to the hype. And not only that, for me personally, it's been something of a hype generator. Anyways, that's the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.